Back in 2009, when Minecraft was still in its infancy and had virtually zero in-game sound yet, C418, the game's newly hired composer, began experimenting with audio for the game. He uploaded this sound test video to YouTube in early June of that year to show off what the game could sound like, featuring alternate sounds and strange ambient noises, most of which never made it into the final game. And the crazy part is, some of those sounds, along with many others, are still hidden in the game's files, unused, waiting to be discovered, and some of them have insane origins. So I flipped out when I discovered this video. Though the original was taken off of YouTube, reuploads of it still remain, the original description featuring the quote I showed at the beginning. Now the most interesting part of this sound test video is that the game sounds entirely different. Well, except for the grass, apparently that was always intended to sound crispy. Now, of course, all of you are familiar with C418, he made music for Minecraft. But did you know he also worked on the game's sound effects? Now, even though a lot of these demo sounds aren't in the game's files anymore, you can actually find some of them, as well as a whole treasure trove of sounds that are still used in the game today on a website called FreeSound, a site where users can download free-to-use SFX for use in any project. C418 and Minecraft's creator, Notch, pulled a lot of the game's basic sounds from here, and amazingly enough, you can also see user download history, so we can actually pinpoint which exact sound files are used in-game and which were used in the sound test. So, let's take a quick listen to how some of these demo sounds compare to what actually ended up in the game. Listening to these back to back is kind of surreal, because for a moment you can hear a version of Minecraft that almost existed. It reminds me of those alternate timeline mods that are very popular in the Golden Age Minecraft community, except this was very much a possibility. Minecraft almost sounded completely different. But now that we've gotten the more prominent block sounds out of the way, let's take a closer listen to the background, where we can actually hear the surprising inclusion of What makes this especially interesting to me is that ambient noises are actually pretty rare in Minecraft. Unlike the Nether in the end, the overworld barely has any. Yet these ambient loops appeared in the original 2009 sound test. So what gives? Maybe Notch decided ambient noises didn't really have a place in the game at the time? Until recently, these ambient loops were actually still present in the game's files, appearing to be the only remaining remnants of the sound test, despite never actually being used. Maybe they were the only sounds from the sound test that were actually intended for use, but ultimately conflicted with Minecraft's design philosophy. Think about it. Most ambient sounds in modern Minecraft only trigger if you go out of your way to hear them, like Nether and End ambience. The overworld, by contrast, is mostly quiet, and maybe that silence is intentional. Hearing birds constantly chirping in a world where you can barely see any might have felt artificial. After all, Minecraft isn't loud, it's lonely. And I mean, what else could you put here but birds chirping? And thankfully, since these sounds did exist in the game at one point in time, that means we can actually extract these ambient loops straight from the files and take a listen to them ourselves. And if you want to check them out yourself, they're still up on FreeSound. And these aren't the only unused sounds that are sitting in the files. Though the rest of these weren't featured in the sound test, there's still a number of interesting sounds that just aren't used anywhere. Like there's another ambient loop called cave chimes, which is actually pretty creepy. Now I thought it sounded kind of familiar to me, so I went to confirm a theory I had, and come to find out, it actually kind of is in the game, just not in a capacity you might expect. It's actually used in Music Disc 13. And as for other creepy hidden sounds, there's this one of the player breathing? This sound was actually one of the first downloaded by Notch on FreeSound, alongside many other of the more iconic basic sounds. I can imagine it probably would have been used for the player breathing after coming out from underwater, but hearing it alone, it's just kinda off-putting. Some other hidden sounds that I think are quite interesting are this strange gas sound, a wolf howling, and a zombie iron door hit sound that never plays because zombies can't actually hit iron doors. There are a couple more unused sounds in the files, but these were the ones I found the most interesting. There's a good video by Benedict that catalogs some more of them, so if you want the full list, I'll link that in the description below. But now let's get into some more obscure facts and sound. Not every sound Notch or C418 downloaded ended up making it in the game. Looking at their download history, we can see a lot of similar sounds were downloaded in batches, and while most ended up being used, others were not. So by taking into account which kinds of sounds were being downloaded at the time, we can deduce which sounds were downloaded with the intent to be used in the game, like this door sound, which sounds oddly familiar. Or this sound, which was among the only 16 sound files that Notch ever downloaded on FreeSound. I'm thinking this probably would have been used as a swing sound effect for swords and weapons, but those wouldn't get implemented until 1.9, which was far after the sound was downloaded, and that sound effect is just entirely different as well. It's also interesting to see that some sounds actually have sister sounds, as I like to call them. Like a fun fact you may not know is that the original Hertz sound is actually the second in a series of sounds uploaded to the site by user The Cheese Man. And it's really funny hearing it amongst the others that he uploaded because it's really obvious which one it is.
Oh! Ooh! Ow!
Like when I hear popularly used samples in the media they originated in, they just stick out like a sore thumb. Like the origin of Roblox's own oof sound being from a religious PC game from the year 2000 called Messiah. And since the sounds used in Minecraft are so distinct and iconic, it's really easy to hear them among full audio clips. For example, did you know that the spider sound used in-game, all the way up to the most recent version, actually comes from the sound of a fire hydrant leaking? That's insane to me. The Minecraft spider is actually a fire hydrant. In a Reddit AMA that took place on December 13th, 2011, C418 shared a brief glimpse into his process for creating sound effects for Minecraft in response to a question from a fan. How do you go about creating sound effects for Minecraft? What are the things that inspire you to make the effects, etc.? First off, nothing really inspired me to make sound effects. We just had a need for sound effects and nobody doing it, so I eventually jumped in. What you can hear in Minecraft is me learning how things should sound, and the current state of Minecraft is me having learned fully, but from more than a year ago. I hope to give you a much nicer quality with a lot of good distraction sound effects in the future. The art of Foley is weird. I could spend a lot of time explaining how I did things. The spider, for example. It was just me researching all day if spiders even make any sound at all, and YouTube told me they screech. So I spent the rest of the day figuring out how to make a screeching sound for a 100-pound creature. And for some reason I realized that the sound of a running fire hose was pretty much what I needed. So I put in the sound effects of the fire hose into a sampler and pitched it around. Voila! Screeching. The next step, which is what you can't hear yet, is to give it unique footsteps. And I have no idea how I did it entirely, but I think there was a lot of putting and thudding with wood sticks involved. It's fascinating and kind of funny to see ordinary random sounds being completely transformed into something iconic. And reading about C418 describing his process and really just admitting that he wasn't privy to making sound effects is really interesting. I think ultimately he and Notch made the right choice in going with less realistic sound design. Though listening to these sounds really feels like peeking into an alternate timeline, a version of Minecraft that almost existed but never quite made it. Some fragments of it buried in the files. Little reminders of what Minecraft could have sounded like. But in the end, the version we got is the one millions of people grew up with. A Minecraft that's quiet, simple, and strangely unforgettable.